Hey, Author Nation. We are at NINC still in sunny St. Pete's Beach. And today we have a special guest, Shannon Humphrey, our Professional Conduct Committee chairperson.
Hey, and it's St. Pete Beach. I asked Jeff specifically. Jeff is with Tradewinds Hotel. Is it St. Pete's Beach or is it St. Pete singular? So yeah.
St. Peter doesn't own this beach.
Right? It's St. Pete. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so you learned something already, but there's more to learn if you stick around.
Yeah, good to be here.
How's your first NINC been?
OMG, that's what it's been like. Like, it's sunny, it's pretty. Everybody's been nice, welcoming. People are like smiling and stuff, and invite you to come and sit down at their table if you're looking alone, or it's been nice.
Yeah,
I'm really glad I came.
It's got a special kind of vibe to be here.
Intimate, quaint.
Yeah. I not that it's a surprise, but I have yet to be in a session.
Okay, sure. I'm gonna need you to go. I know that you know a lot because you've been representing. You've been working with successful authors a long time. But go see a session.
Yeah, what it is I get when we're not doing kind of stuff like this, but it's like. It's out in the halls. Mm-hmm. It's sitting at a table with people and just talking. Mm-hmm. That becomes really the, I think where I can have even more impact. I mean, I get a little too antsy in sessions. Like I go in there and it's like, and it's like, what am I missing? What?
Right.
But yeah, I'll get into a few. And then, some of the folks that are great speakers here. Mm-hmm. Fortunately for me, I can always call them up.
Right, and be like, give me the 411. Yeah.
Cliff's Notes. Awesome. Well, we're going to talk about Author Nation and the massive amount of work that you and your committee has been doing.
Yay, Author Nation.
Yeah. So, why don't you just explain what you guys have been up to for the last year?
All the different ways that we're going to torture you with new rules and stuff. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Yeah. It's definitely not that. So, the author community, we all know, has kind of been the wild, wild west for the past 20 years. That you're right. Kindle, KDP, we focus on the money, the side of it, the business side of it. And it's not like when you work for, in engineering, or you're in nursing, or you're in an established industry where there are unions and where you have to have a license in your state in order to practice. And there are guidelines and all the other, you got to sign off on some kind of policies. When you get a job, you got to read all the fine print that a lot of us don't read. You might skim it, and then you check off a bunch of boxes. The book publishing industry has never had anything like that before. So when you came up with Author Nation, and I think over the last 2 or 3 years, it's become more and more necessary, because there's been an influx of new authors, brand new spanking people who have come in from the pandemic, and got all these new writers, all these new people, and it's like, wow, there are no rules, so being at the bar and having a really good time and having a few drinks, and some people have probably never been to a conference before. Some people don't have the backgrounds that you have or I have, and they're not, so now it might be time to put some curbs in place so that people can come here and feel okay, and have parameters and some guidelines that we really haven't really had to focus on them so much. But the more new authors that are coming in, and the more we get comfortable with each other, and the more conferences that pop up, it's probably time for some rules.
Yeah, and I think there's been this isn't like one event. This is something we're seeing across a lot of different events, whether it's reader events or author events. There needs to be things that are done because I don't know what there just seems to be, whether it's bringing the public together, behavior that's just not something that's cool. And so in two parts, one is like, here, let us be really clear on what professionalism looks like in the author community. Could it be that no one's ever talked about that? Well, that's part of it, right?
Right. And not even just in the author community, reader community. Hello, I won't get specific. I won't get specific. Right. You're right. I had to, exactly. But there, have been some recent major events. There, and you get TikTok. You got influencers who are coming to meet the authors and stuff. Now you got, readers who come in off the street and stuff, who come to a reader author event. You've just got more stuff going on now. And so there is a need for everybody to kind of know, okay, these are the guidelines. No, you may not. I know that you see such and such walking down the hallway and you've never met them before and you're all excited and you just want to go up and throw your arms around them. Some people are not huggers. So, got to have some, it's time to have some rules.
Yeah. So, when you took on this responsibility, you and I had some pretty long, deep conversations about this, about things that you would like to see different and what you thought was necessary for there to be the conference that we would all want to go to.
Right.
So given that, where we were back then in those conversations and where we are now, what's the stuff that you're most excited about that you guys have developed? Because and maybe even be at some point, whether before or after that, talk about the we and right. There's a committee.
Yeah, there's a committee. It's definitely not the Shannon Humphrey show. We have a fantastic committee that I'm so proud of. I kind of inherited it. I know Alicia came on after the fact. She's an intellectual property attorney, and she'll be speaking on the stage about the ethics of AI, artificial intelligence. I'm looking forward to going and attending her talk. And then you got Jonathan Bracy, who writes science fiction, and he's been nominated for the Nebula Award. And then you've got Alice Briggs, who is one of the co-founders of Indie Author Magazine, and she's on the committee. So we have a strong committee of fantastic people who bring diversity and different backgrounds and different perspectives so that we can have these conversations about how to keep people safe without being the conduct police necessarily, but how to make people feel comfortable across the board so that everybody kind of just knows in the back of their minds, look, we're not being police, but we do have to be respectful of our colleagues. And that's the most exciting thing for me is I think a lot of women, especially men and women, but particularly women, want to feel like, okay, where are the parameters? Where are the guardrails? How can we create an environment that is just a professional environment? Just truth be told, not trying to rain on anybody's parade or throw a wet blanket on the good times. Go to the Strip in Vegas, go gamble, have those drinks. And if you see me, hey, I am not opposed to somebody buying me a drink, okay? So, but if you are buying me a drink or treating me to a coffee, or if I'm treating you to one, let it be with us treating each other equally as colleagues, and not you expecting some kind of favor from me or me expecting some kind of favor from you. Mind yourself, which I have to do all the time. I have to watch what I say all the time. I was born and raised in the South, Southern Baptist Christian family. I've got old-timey parents. I was raised by my grandparents. I heard inappropriate things in my grandparents' house that I would not dare say, I would not dare repeat now. I have to think now before I speak, and that's what we're going to have to start imparting to our colleagues. Think about it before you speak or say it.
Yeah, yeah. And in doing this, and part of our conversation is like, how do we, what we want doesn't exist. Like you could have chat GPT some kind of conduct code and we could stick it up there, but it's more about what you guys are doing to have a group that's talking about this and trying to define things like, where is there consent and not, and where is there, appropriate conduct and not. And yeah, it's very nuanced, but you're having those conversations.
Yes. Yeah. We spent weeks earlier this spring. We spent quite a few meetings just fleshing out, what the consent is, what harm is, what is offensive versus what is harmful. And there is an actual difference in a lot of laws and a lot of states between offending somebody and, I could be wearing a pair of shoes that you don't like the color red, or okay, your best friend may have, did something to you when you were a kid and they were wearing a red shirt, and ever since then red has just really traumatized you, so that you find the color red offensive. But legally, it's not against the law for somebody to wear a pair of red shoes or a red shirt. However, if your red shirt says it has a slur on it, or if your red shirt is saying that somebody needs to go back to the country that they came from or something, now you're going into a legal matter for which Author Nation could be sued, right? You could be sued, I could be sued. And so far over the years, as to my knowledge, fortunately, we in the author community have been because we're artists, so we're laid back, we're super casual, and we have cast a blind eye for a long time toward other people's, stuff that they do that's offensive. But we've been really lucky in that regard, right? We just haven't run up on, I tell Joe this all the time when we talk, we just haven't run up on that one person who is like, nah, that's not appropriate, and the fact that you all put up with that is unacceptable. I'm calling my attorney. That is legally, inappropriate conduct, and it's targeting me, it's targeting my heritage or where I came from or my ethnicity, and that's unacceptable, and now we've all got a big problem. Well, we want to avoid big problems like that. We want Author Nation to be a good time. We want Vegas to be a good time. We want to continue putting on a good show every year. And that's going to be really hard for us to do if we have, problems like that lead to lawsuits. We'd really like to avoid the lawsuits.
Yeah. And as a lawyer, that's you're always kind of your point of view. You're always getting us back to like this could become litigation,
liability,
yeah,
liability,
right?
red flag.
And that's why I love the fact that you're doing this. But the spirit of what you guys have put together is, while you're setting the guardrails, right? Mm-hmm. Like you don't want to be up on the guardrails.
Right.
You want to be in the middle of the road, and that is the idea that there's a lot of divisiveness going on. Like whether it's social media mm-hmm. or enemies that we're at war with that are trying to get us to kill each other. Mm-hmm. Like there is a lot of stuff that's going on. Mm-hmm. And because we have the ability to have free speech and we have the diversity we have in this country, it's really easy to get pushed towards those guardrails. Our hope and in the stuff we've talked about is that the one thing that we all agree on is we want to be professional, successful authors, and that we're going to work on that together. And whatever differences there may be, that should be the last thing that ever comes up, because we're figuring out how we can help each other get to where we're trying to go. And it doesn't all have to be the same place, right? Like sometimes the thing is like the idea of, trying to get everybody to be successful, yes, but understand where they are in their success path.
Yes, exactly. Except that part is understanding that everybody brings something to the table and appreciating what we all bring to the table. The sweet people, I'm talking about romance subgenres now. So the clean and wholesome people, the sweet people, the small town romance people, the erotica people, the dark, the romantasy, all that, everybody can come to the table and respect each other's hustling. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're doing, right? We all like money,
That's
that's across the board. That is across the board. If nothing else, we're all here at Author Nation because we all love money. So if somebody is, approaching the line, or if, okay, the sweet people and the dark people, the bully romance folks are disagreeing on open door, closed door, whatever. Just remember, we all like money. We're all here to hustle. We all like money. Let's come back for the money.
That's the quote right there.
Yeah.
Because it's so true. I think that there's two parts of this to me. And before we kind of get into the mechanics of the stuff you built, is like, how do we represent our own brand, and how do we represent the brand of indie authors? Us trying to slit each other's throats over stupid stuff isn't helpful in either of those.
No.
And, making a point with a particular author, you may feel like a win, but does it really deteriorate your brand in the eyes of their readers or your readers or readers in general? So, I think that the more you remember that we're all here, we all love money.
We all love money.
We all love money.
Right. At some point, you might want to investigate Author Nation T-shirts, money. We, remember why you're here, because we all love the green. Your green is just as good as my green.
We're all here for the green. So tell me, let's kind of get into some of the, because it isn't just like you guys had a meeting and determined this is the thing.
Yeah.
You've built systems.
Yeah.
You've got actual systems we're going to be deploying at the show.
Yeah. The reporting procedures. Now, y'all, give us grace. Okay. Give us grace. This is, it's probably going to take us a run or two before we get the system down pat, but there is a reporting system now that's been in place. There's a number that Joe is going to be putting out to you guys that, I think that was it a hotline, or is it it's a website? Yeah,
there'll be a couple things.
Well, a link.
There'll be QR codes that go to a link for the actual reporting, and then that sends to an email that you'll all have.
So there are rules that there are conduct rules that we spent real time fleshing out, and then in those conduct rules, there's also a link. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. Not a hotline. Sorry, I didn't mean to stress you out and have you like, what? Where's that?
The bat's fun.
There's a link where you all can go and report and fill out the form when you have heard conduct that has been expressly outlined in the conduct code. It's the professional conduct code. And, read over it, have a look at it. If you want to give us feedback anytime about something that needs to be tweaked in the code, don't think, oh, Shannon and her committee are trying to suppress our right to free speech. No, it's just maybe we hadn't thought of that. We're doing the best we can, right out the gate with this being our first year and us learning how to implement this and creating this as we go. So there are reporting procedures that involve that link. You go to that website, you fill out the form, and then as quickly as possible, the committee and I are aiming for 24 hours while you're at the event. If something occurs in the Author Nation community, you can fill out that link. Go to the link and fill out that form. If something happens when you're actually at the conference, you can go and fill out that form. We've spent time going over how we're defining things. Like I said, the difference between offensive versus harmful, not calling somebody a slur, inappropriate physical touching, when somebody has not given you permission, low-key stalking, following it behind somebody. I know we're going to have influencers at the show for the rave this year. We're inviting influencers. We're asking influencers to give authors space for a certain time period, not to jump the line because you are an influencer. If you have not already worked out something with Author Nation, or if you haven't worked out something already with a particular author, we're asking you to really to show respect to the readers who are coming to support the authors. And there are consequences. And no, it's not Shannon making this stuff up off the top of her head. The committee will get together and decide what should be done about certain types of conduct. And there are grades of conduct. There are escalating levels of conduct that we've laid out in the code so far. Of course, touching somebody inappropriately or insulting somebody. I've heard of instances throughout the years on different occasions, different events, where a speaker might be on the stage and you don't agree with something that they said, or you just don't like them, or you took their course and you really hated it and they won't give you your money back. So then when they start presenting, you start yelling and screaming at them on the stage. Now, I'm making this up off the top of my head. I don't know if this really, but I'm just giving an example of yelling and screaming, or, that there's consequences for that. And there haven't really been in the past, but if your conduct rises to the level of being egregious, confrontational, then so there's fighting, excessive drunkenness, and you really get out of hand while you're drinking. Everybody is going to have a good time and drink. That's not illegal, but it is illegal if you get drunk and decide that you want to grab some people in places keep your hands to yourself, period. Okay. So
Yes.
there are consequences for these things now, and we need you all to know that and I'm going to keep it real here for a moment, Joe. I don't want nobody, breaking into my Southern accent now. Nobody coming saying, well, I didn't know. Nobody told me. Well, Joe tells me that he's been putting out he's been sending it out, to putting it on the Author Nation, and sending emails and things and we're doing this podcast. We're telling you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
This is part of the communication. So what we're trying to do is get people to understand that this stuff exists. Mm-hmm. It's TOS for Author Nation.
Yeah.
And, if you're professional, you're focusing on the money,
right,
you're helping other people.
We all love money.
Right in the middle. You're never going to see it.
Think about your money before you do it. Think about your money.
Yep.
How much do I like money?
Yeah.
Before. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. And I think the important thing it's not just on this, it's everything with the show, is like, it gets back to that first conversation we had about, like, we could all sit around and say what's bad or wrong with a multitude of shows. What if, as creatives, we build the show we want?
Right.
What are the things that we, like, this is it. Like I said, this is your shot.
Right.
We'll make it happen. Now, this is what it looks like. And all the things that are going on with the show. It's like, not everything is going as we planned.
Which happens.
Yeah.
Some
things are going way, way better than we ever expected. Mm-hmm. Some things they're not happening because we're out of bandwidth. We can't do it.
Yeah. You'll have to wait. Mm-hmm.
The craziest thing about this, Shell and I are up to our eyeballs and stuff in minutia detail, getting stuff ready so the rest of the team can do it when they hit the beach, mm-hmm. right? When the show opens up. Mm-hmm. But we're also at the same time starting to talk about 2025.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you got to.
Right?
You got to.
So, where I'm going with that is thinking about where you know where we started, you know where you're at now. What do you envision, like, if everything goes according to the plan and where you'd like to see things for the future? What's the conduct committee look like? What's, how is this being dealt with? So, even it sound like a question. You know where I'm going with this?
So let me see if I can clarify. So going forward, what is the conduct committee to Author Nation? Who?
Yeah, like why are we doing all this stuff? Like what's?
We hopefully are setting the standard for other organizations.
Mm-hmm.
I without going into specifics, I did get an inquiry not long ago from a friend in another organization asking my input on a situation that had come up. And so it's clear that the author organizations really, it's still so undeveloped. Professional conduct is really undeveloped for a lot of our industry, like I started off saying. The dream and the vision is that Author Nation will be, the Professional Conduct Committee will be a shining light of all to, on a hill for all to follow and be inspired and be like, hey, they're getting it right. Let's have us a Professional Conduct Committee so that we can have our one-stop shop, so that you don't have that one person at the top, Joe or Shell, making the decisions based on favoritism, based on who we like, who's our friend. Okay, yeah, you did something bad, but don't do it again. Slap on the wrist, and okay, we'll give you a speaking position next year. Oh, I really like that person. They make a whole lot of money. They can't be uninvited, and we have to keep inviting them. They make a lot of money. They're a 7-figure author. We can't, no. People need to see across the board that everybody's going to be treated the same, that everybody has a right to be respected, that everybody has a right to come here, and no matter who you are, you're going to be held to a standard. That's what we're trying to establish going forward, is people in the author industry feeling like they're about their business. They're doing what they said they're going to do. I trust them now. That's what it is. That's the short version of what I'm trying to say. Trust. We want people, and we need them to trust us, that when you look at me, Shannon or Joe or Jonathan from the committee, or Alicia or any of us, when you see us, we're about business, and we're not going to drop the ball when it comes to seeing that this is conducted in a professional manner. And then other organizations, we're hopefully setting the standard and building a model for them to follow.
Yeah, I think there's, the trust thing is such a powerful part of this, that and we have to earn it. We can't just expect it, like, hey, we've got this system and you should just, no.
Right.
Let us, like with everything, we're going to show you.
Yep.
But, the other thing I think is that I don't know about other places, but certainly in the author community, there tends to be this kind of mob rule. We'll sort it out on social media, right?
Yeah.
And that's not only inappropriate for to resolve any issue, but it's super distracting, right? Like for anybody involved. And yeah, sure, we all like to slow down for the car accident, and let's have some more car accidents.
Right.
But that's not cool for the industry.
Right.
That's not what we're here to do. We're not here to watch people flame out and do that.
Right.
We're here to be about, if this is something you want to do, it's extremely hard. And we're trying to make an environment where you can get to business, right? And not have to worry about other stuff. And I think that as we go forward and have things that go through the process, for people to understand, just because you don't see big posts coming out and us making declarations and doing public executions.
Right.
That there's things going on, right?
Right.
That we have this committee that is actually interviewing, talking, and determining. And sometimes there'll be action that you don't necessarily need to know about, right? Because we have to be respectful of confidentiality and the people involved, that
privacy,
right? Like that they just want to say, and we don't want this to be where the judge, jury, and execution.
Right. No trial by public opinion.
Yeah.
And that's been happening for a long time. And I know it feels good. I know it feels cathartic to be able to just write that one killer comment and slay somebody on Instagram or TikTok like, I'm going to get you. We're going to go one star your books. And, and we're all of us are going to get together and, no, the Professional Conduct Committee is what it says it is. It's professional. So in a scenario where a statement might need to be made, to reassure everyone it's being handled, but we are handling it we acknowledge that this has occurred, and we understand the gravity of it, and the Professional Conduct Committee is handling it. And if you know something, if you have personal information on this, if you were an actual witness and you saw something go down, then the professional thing to do is to submit a private incident report. Because, hey, guess what? If you were going through this, and if you were a victim, and if you wanted the matter to be handled, but you didn't necessarily want everybody on the planet to be in your business, that's not, because I'm speaking as Shannon now. Mm-hmm. I have been the victim of 2 or 3 situations throughout my life that it happened, and if I had to speak on it in order for justice to be achieved, I would. But other than that, I would not want my readers or my family or my friends to be looking at me as only that. I want you to be talking about how bomb my books are. I want you to be talking about I just became a New York Times bestseller, and I'm not there yet. That's the goal. But I want you to be focusing on the things that bring me joy and positivity, not necessarily this really humiliating thing that now everybody knows, because y'all, I get what it's doing for you in that moment, but consider and imagine me. Okay. So not only is it unprofessional for us as authors, imagine what you're putting the people involved through, the victim and the accused, and because they're the accused, until, proven guilty and all that. Y'all know how it goes, and then sometimes there may just be a misunderstanding, but people are blowing it up, Yeah. So yeah, think about these things and the gravity of them, before you just get online. We really are trying to nurture that again, professionalism, confidentiality, and respect. And like Joe said, just because we're not engaging in the circus trial on Facebook and tearing people down, that doesn't mean that nothing is being done. We may come out with an update or an acknowledgement and say, hey, this is being handled, that we understand what has occurred and we're addressing it. And that's probably going to be the most you hear, out of respect for them and out of respect for our industry.
Amen. Well, I think that's a good spot to end. That was really well put in the essence of everything we're trying to do, right?
Yeah.
Like we just want to keep this whole thing really focused on why we are going to all this effort, and that is to have a place for us to become better at what we want to do for the rest of our lives.
Right. Money.
Get the grade.
That's right. Yeah. That we all love it. Yeah. Let's go make it.
Shannon, it's been awesome having you on.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
I'll see y'all in Vegas, y'all.
Bye.